Do you ever wonder how much you need to retire? Braden and I, we get this question all the time, and we're going to go ahead and tell you there is no formula, there is no special number, and it really comes down to a bunch of little different things that can end up to having a really good retirement plan or not so good retirement plan. So today we're going to take you through a few different examples just to shed some light on how all of this works and things you may need to be thinking about.
Yeah, I'm excited for people to hear this because I think it's going to be eye-opening to see that hey, you could hear about two scenarios on the street and think, oh, I know which one it's going to be, and it could be the exact opposite. So I hope everybody enjoys and gets some benefit out of this. By the way, we certainly are having a lot of fun doing the podcast. We've gotten a tremendous amount of good feedback. If you've not had the opportunity yet, though, we would like to encourage you again. If you are on a platform that you can rate us, we'd love it. We love 5-star ratings. Those are our favorites. But then also, if you can write us a review, that's even better, because we use those reviews to help us to see where we might be able to make the show better. So we appreciate all of that. Also, we always talk about the fact that if you want more information about us and what we do, visit our website, pomwealth.net. If you go to the blog page, you'll see that there's a mini video course that Merce and I have created called 4 Steps to Secure Your Retirement. There's no money for that. It's completely free, but it'll help you get more information on retirement planning. But before we get started, though, we do have to do a quick little disclosure, and then we'll start our podcast.
All right. The information contained in this podcast is intended to provide general information only and not to be considered individualized advice. Different types of investments carry different levels of risk. As always, please contact your financial professional for advice appropriate to your specific situation. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone. We are certainly happy to have you with us on this Wednesday morning for our Retirement in Action. Every Wednesday, that's our goal, is to help you think about what you do in retirement, how to make things work. One of the biggest questions Merce and I hear, and you read about it all the time in any kind of articles out there or whatever, is how much do I need to retire? And that's a big question. And Merce, how do you answer that question when somebody says, Merce, how much money do I need to retire?
Yeah, I think that question is very big in the sense that it's just so subjective, because there is no actual number, there is no formula. Someone may say, do I need to have $1 million by the time I retire? Well, I don't know the answer to that until we work through all the different variables, and there's a ton of different variables. Many like things to consider when you're thinking about retirement as well. What age are you going to retire? Are you trying to retire early, or are you going to try to retire closer to what they call full retirement age of Social Security, which is around 66 or 67? That has a huge impact. And then the one that we talk about all the time is, well, yeah, it's really important to save for retirement, but what's even more, I would say equally important, is how much you plan on spending. So really staying within your means is a huge part, and something that we teach all the time. So I think there's a lot to unpack here today as we talk about, well, how much do you need to retire?
Yeah, I think also you got to look at things like inflation. Right now, we've lived through the last decade of inflation being relatively low. But if you look at it over 100 years, it's just a tiny bit over 3%. We use 3% in our planning. And we tell people, look, we hope that it's going to continue to stay low. And by the way, when you look at the 100 years, which we have year by year, what inflation was, there was periods in there where it was really high, but it doesn't last that long. It's a few years that it runs really high, and then it gets back and it gets adjusted. You got to think about healthcare. A lot of times people are worried about, well, how am I going to deal with long-term care? How am I going to deal with those different things that kind of surprise me? And I've been doing this for over 20 years. Merce has been doing it for a decade. And I mean, we just look at it and you go, we've heard a lot of stories where somebody, they get sick, and it takes a chunk of money if they want to try certain things. I've told the story many times where we had a client who got cancer, and she decided that after doing all the research and what they needed to do in order to do some operation, she decided to do a program in another country and it would not be covered by insurance, but it was her best shot, she felt, and she had to take a chunk of money, go and live there for a year, which she did, and it worked. It reduced the tumor. She was able to come back and get cancer, but those are things you can't plan for. You don't know it's going to happen, but you got to kind of think about it. The other thing that we talk about when you talk about how much you need to retire is how much guaranteed income do you already have set in place? Some people have a pension. Most people have Social Security at some point. So you got to factor all of those things in order to get the picture. So here's what we want to do, because we want to make this example. We're not going to be able to go into a detailed amount of numbers, but we want to give you two scenarios. And what Merce did is work up some numbers. We have two people. We have Mary and we have Susan, and we'll use their names a lot. These are obviously fictitious people. So if your name is Mary or your name is Susan and you're listening, we're not talking about you. This is made up names. Okay, so Mary is 60 and she wants to retire. Susan is 67, and she wants to retire. So two people, similarly aged, but a little different. But here's the thing. Sometimes people go, if I had $1 million, I could retire. So we're going to give Mary at age 60 $1 million. Now, Susan's 67, and she only has 500,000. So let me ask you this question. Which one of the two ladies is going to have a better, longer retirement? Can you answer it based on Mary at 60 with $1 million and Susan at 67 with 500,000? Well, we're going to take you through this example. So you'll learn in this example that Mary having $1 million doesn't necessarily mean that Mary's all set. So Merce has the screen that has all the numbers on it. And again, we're not going to walk you through all the details. We just want to paint a picture so you can understand the differences between the two. So go ahead, Merce. Give us
Yeah. So let's start with Mary. Like Radon said, she's age 60 and she wants to retire right away. She's got $1 million in IRA assets. To make the two scenarios of Mary and Susan kind of apples to apples, we didn't want to change too many variables. Otherwise, you can't make a great comparison. So really all we're changing here is their age, how much they have saved, and what type of spending that they have. So for Mary, what we've done is we have her retire at age 60. We're going to say that she gets Social Security of $3,000 a month starting at age 67. For Susan, we're saying pretty much the same thing. She's going to start Social Security at 67 at $3,000 a month, just like Mary is. The change here is that Susan is going to retire at age 67, not age 60. So let's stick with Mary. Mary's got $1 million in IRA assets. Now, what we just talked about is what's really important is how is Mary going to spend when she retires right away? And that's a huge factor is the spending plan. So Mary has a spending plan of $6,500 a month that she needs coming into her bank account so that she can pay for all the bills, take care of whatever funds she wants to have in retirement. So $6,500 net coming in the door. And like Radon said about inflation, we're going to use a 3% inflation. Oftentimes we just don't know what the future is. We don't have a crystal ball. So we're going to take the higher end to make the plan more conservative to make sure it works. So 3% is what we're going to use as far as an inflation. So that 6,500 is going to grow considerably. And the fact that she's retiring pretty much 7 years earlier than Susan makes that inflation even stronger. So very quickly, she retires and she immediately starts withdrawing on these funds. She's got some Social Security coming in the door, but you may think that $1 million should have been enough. And on that $1 million, it's growing. All right. It's invested. So we have it earning 5% on an annual average basis. So it's growing at a decent rate of return, one that I think everyone would be happy with. But what happens? And it's really the spending and the inflation is what we're seeing here. So when we start at $6,500 a month of spending that she needs, by the time she gets to 70, just 10 years down the road, her spending need has gone up from $6,500 to almost $9,000 a month in just 10 years. Why? Just because of 3% inflation. Nothing special there. She's not doing anything extra, just living the way that she wants to live right now, 10 years from now. And so you kind of put all those together. There's some more numbers involved, but ultimately we want to keep this simple just so you can make a nice comparison and have a good understanding of how this works. Mary basically runs out of money, comes close to running out of money at age 73. So she only makes it 13 years into retirement. So she retired at 60 with $1 million, which seems so powerful, but she only makes it to about 73 before she runs out of her assets. She still has Social Security coming in the door, but that's not nearly enough to cover the lifestyle that she's built. All right, so now let's flip over to Susan. Susan, like I said, the main difference is she's retiring at age 67, not age 60. So what does that mean? She's got a few more years of life that she's taken care of by working. What we've done for Susan is we said, well, maybe she wasn't as big of a saver as Mary was. So she had $500,000, not $1 million in her IRA. But she did have a tiny little pension. So she had the $3,000 Social Security. And because she worked wherever she worked, she got a $500 pension starting at age 67 as well. So that tiny little thing helps quite a bit. So now she's got fixed income of $3,500 in the door, but she doesn't have that $1 million. She's got 500,000, but also she is 7 years retiring later than Mary was. So you can already see there's so many moving parts, different little tweaks that can make such an impact on your retirement plan. Here's another tiny little tweak. Mary wasn't a massive saver. She did a good job. She amassed 500,000, but she also wasn't a massive spender. So what she needed is 4,000 a month coming in the door to take care of her bills, to live the life that she wants to live, versus the 6,500 a month that Mary wanted. So Susan, just to recap, 500,000. She's got a tiny little pension on top of her $3,000 Social Security. Her spending is lower. It's $4,000 a month. Still running that rate of return at around 5% on average, and she retires at 67. So we get down the line and everything is looking pretty good. That $4,000 a month, by the time that she is 80, because of inflation, the same 3% inflation has grown to $6,000 a month. So she's still seeing that inflation impact, but it's not as big of a draw on her retirement accounts. And it's a manageable draw on her retirement accounts. We get down the line in her retirement plan and she makes it past age 90. So something that is way more comfortable when it comes to her withdrawal rate, and that's mainly because of her spending. So when he asks the question, how much do I need to retire? Well, you can already tell just with a couple little tweaks, keeping two plans pretty much the same, tiny couple little tweaks makes a massive, massive difference. And you can retire with 500,000. Or if Mary said, well, I can reduce my budget down, well, then maybe that $1 million works. So there's so many different little things that we have to look at when we're trying to say and assess how much do you need to retire.
Yeah. And so, Merce and I, we talk about it all the time, that we believe that in order for you to have a successful, stress-free, worry-free life in retirement, you should have a written retirement plan. And really what Merce is looking at on the screen when he's going through this is a part of the written retirement plan that we prepare for every one of the folks that ever meet with us or we talk to. We prepare this for them so they can see their numbers. But what we wanted to really help you to appreciate today is you could be talking to somebody and they might have more money than you saved, but that does not mean they have a better retirement plan. It just means they have more money. They might be spending a lot more than you. They might have a whole different set of circumstances than you do, or you may have more money than somebody else. That doesn't mean you have a better retirement plan either. Now, by the way, we're going to do this real quick, and I did not tell Mercer we were going to do this, but I want to just illustrate the point. Mary, when he ran those numbers, Mary was running out of money at age 73. So, Merce, can you just lower her income from 6,500 to 5,000? And the reason why he's going to do those numbers for us really quick. And by the way, this is exactly how we do it when we're talking to somebody, if we are meeting with them. So let's say Mary came to us and she goes, oh my goodness, I just got a package. I just got laid off. I got $1 million. I thought I was going to be set, but I really at this point don't want to go back to work. And so she looks at her spending plan and she realizes that she was actually in that spending plan. She had really thought about maybe giving $500 a month to her grandchildren for college savings. She had about another $1,200, $1,400 a month built into just miscellaneous stuff. And so she said, you know what, if I look at this, I could shave off $1,500 a month of my spending plan if it meant I don't have to go back to work. Or I'm going to shave off $1,500 and I'm going to just supplement the rest of that for a while working part-time. We could dream up a bunch of them. So we're just doing it right now on the fly, super simple. Now, remember what it was. I want to remind you before Merce tells us the numbers, because I don't know what they are yet. We didn't do it. All right. Mary is age 60. She has $1 million. She was her original plan was to spend $6,500. She was going to start taking Social Security at 67. The reason why we ran it at 67 is that's very close to what full retirement age is right now. But we're just going to lower that $6,500 to $5,000. Just want to illustrate the power of a spending plan. And what does that get her to? So Merce, how did that get her to?
Yeah, so it helped considerably. So before, at the original spending plan of $6,500, she was running out at 73. And now she's not quite there, but it's a step in the right direction. It buys her almost 10 more years in retirement. So it gets her closer to around age 82. Just by one tiny little change, she's added 10 more years of spending into her retirement. So I would say that helps considerably. The spending is always going to be one of the easiest things that you can tweak, because you can't just make money appear out of thin air, right? Maybe your working years are over and there's only a few little knobs that you can tweak. Spending is the easiest one to come to. And a lot of times what we see is that we don't ever have a really good grasp on our spending, or we don't really ever think we need to until we get to the point that says, well, you can't retire because you spend too much. All right, well, if you say that, I will take a really good look at my spending now and see where I can cut. So that tiny little tweak made a huge difference.
All right. So if you have the question and your question is, do I have enough money to retire? What's the answer? It all depends. It all depends on your situation. And we have to have a written retirement plan in order to figure it out a lot of times. By the way, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh my goodness, there's just so much here, I just want to remind you, Merce and I, we created a mini video series called 4 Steps to Secure Your Retirement. And it is a 4-video course. So it takes you through this whole idea of what do you need to have? What are the steps you need to have? What are the things you need to think through in order to have a peace of mind in retirement? So if you would like that, go to our website, pomwealth.net /blog, BLOG. There's tons of articles there, but on the right-hand side, you can see that course is right there. You can click on that and register. There is no money. It does not cost anything. It's completely free. It's just a way for you to get some information. And if you'd like that, please go there and check that out. But thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us today. We will talk to you next week.